Yes, people, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are all doing well. We have got some breaking transfer news from the Telegraph, and that is that Chelsea's Mason Mount has agreed personal terms with Manchester United, and it now looks like we are expected to sign the England and Chelsea midfielder at Old Trafford. This could be a huge transfer for Manchester United, and a transfer that has come a little bit out of the blue. Now, I know we kind of did a video on this over the last couple of weeks and suggested that this could happen because there were some reports knocking about, but there had been other reports with him joining other clubs as well, notably Liverpool and a few others. Now, Man United got into the mix, and it looks like it could be about to happen. We've heard rumours as well about Kane and Mount and Rice all joining Manchester United, and if this one is true, could we potentially see those other two fall into place? Who knows, but we're going to get stuck into the reports from the Telegraph reporting that Chelsea's midfielder Mason Mount is set to join Manchester United, and he has agreed personal terms with the club. And Rory will be crying right now, won't he? Rory will be crying, and I am actually a little bit happy about this one. I'm not going to lie. I think this could be a very, very shrewd bit of business for Manchester United in this summer transfer window. But before we get stuck into all of that, please make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. Do me a favor. I want to hit 150k subs ASAP. Right, let's get stuck into this story. It says Manchester United have agreed personal terms with Mason Mount and are now expected to sign the Chelsea midfielder. This comes from the Telegraph. Their reporters Jason Burt and James Ducker, fairly reliable, fairly on the ball. Obviously don't get everything right, nobody does, but they are a fairly reliable source. And they say at the same time, Chelsea have also granted permission for Man City to talk to Mateo Kovacic ahead of another significant summer transfer move. Now it looks like Chelsea could be losing two midfielders, and according to some Chelsea fans, it's two of the ones that they want to keep to Manchester United and Manchester City. It says the deals signal the start of a huge summer overhaul at Stamford Bridge, with Chelsea first concentrating on selling players before new head coach Mauricio Pochettino can add to his squad. Now it's believed that Mauricio Pochettino wanted to keep Mason Mount, but Mason Mount's future is looking likely to be away from Stamford Bridge. We hear Mason Mount, 24, is also wanted by Liverpool and Arsenal, but it appears United are closing in on his signature. United manager Erik ten Hag has been confident he can secure Mount, and talks have progressed positively in recent days since the two clubs played each other last Thursday. Mount has 1 year left on his contract at Chelsea and appears determined to leave, with the club wanting to exact as high a fee as possible rather than lose him on a free transfer. Telegraph Sport reported in February that Kovacic was one of the midfielders on City's target list. Discussions have been held with Kovacic's representatives after Chelsea granted City permission to talk to the player. So it looks like Chelsea are wanting to get rid of some of their players quite quickly if these players are wanting to move on. Mason Mount's head has been turned away from Chelsea for an awfully long time now. As was reported in this article, and as has been reported for an awfully long time, he's got 1 year left on his contract, so they're going to try and get a fee for him. Now there's been reports of a fee anywhere as high as 80 million and anywhere as low as 40 million. And you think if United can get him for around 50 million pounds, I think that's a decent signing for someone that's young, can play in a number of positions, is experienced in the Champions League, experienced in the Premier League, experienced at an international level. I think it tactically would be very flexible. And I also think Erik ten Hag could get a whole lot more out of him. There's no surprise that the likes of Arsenal and Liverpool are knocking at the door for this player. Look, he's not the best player in the world. And of course, people will point out many different, names that we could potentially sign in place of him. But we need to bring in players. Scott McTominay is being linked with a move to Newcastle. Fred's being possibly linked with a move away from the club as well. We're seeing, Manchester United have to make a number of signings in key positions. And if someone like Mason Mount wants to join the club, if you can get a deal over the line for him at a reasonable price, and he's not the only signing in midfield, I think that's a key point as well. People seem to go on like we can only make one signing. I think if we're going to lose McTominay and bring in Mason Mount, that's an immediate improvement there. And then bring in that key signing that you can bring in, because we know Marcel Sabitzer's probably not going to be kept on as well. You possibly could get rid of Fred or someone like that. Maybe Kobe Mainoo or someone like that's going to go out on loan. So you're going to, change things up in that midfield area. You're going to need to bring somebody else in. So if Mason Mount is one of two midfield signings, I would be, really happy with that. Then, of course, we need that forward as well. And we need a goalkeeper to challenge David De Gea, which looks like we may be in the market for as well as a few other squad players potentially. But those key signings we need to make: 2 midfielders, I think, a striker for sure, and a goalkeeper that can challenge De Gea. Maybe a centre-back as well if Maguire leaves. Again, Maguire, another player that could potentially be leaving to free up some transfer funds for Manchester United. So this move for Mason Mount is looking like it is very, very much on. What do you guys think? Should Manchester United sign Mason Mount or not? Do you think we should be going for somebody else? As I said, I think it could be a very, very big signing for Manchester United. And a player that has a lot more upside as well. You can get a lot more out of him, I think. And someone like Erik ten Hag, we've seen what he can do with the players that we have at the club. And I think people, you could possibly look at someone like Marcus Rashford's form. Last season wasn't great for Manchester United under Rangnick and that. Mason Mount has probably suffered quite similar at Chelsea this season. So he needs a coach that can show him some love, get an arm around him, get him on the training pitch, get developing him. And I think he could be a very, very good player for whoever he signs for next. Whether that's Manchester United or not remains to be seen. But the Telegraph, as I said, are reporting that Manchester United have agreed personal terms with Mason Mount. Who saw that coming? I definitely didn't see it coming. We've got the cup final on the way as well. News today coming through over the last 24 hours that Anthony Martial will miss that game. Injuries have absolutely savaged him up. You can see when he's running sometimes, he's trying to avoid injury. You got to feel sorry for it. I kind of said the same when we were talking about Phil Jones. Constant injuries must be really heartbreaking. But Manchester United, we can't rely on Anthony Martial. We're speaking about needing possibly 2 midfielders. What's going to happen with Martial next season? You probably need 2 strikers. Are we going to be able to do that? How are we going to have the funds available? Is the ownership situation going to be sorted? That's why I think being able to bring someone in like Mason Mount, who's a very, very good player, on a decent, transfer fee. He wants to join the club as well. I think with the position that we're in this transfer window, we could do a lot worse than that. And I think he'd be a very, very good Erik ten Hag signing. We're going to have a video with Boovy up tomorrow ahead of that cup final. So make sure you're keeping it locked for that. And of course, whenever any news breaks or anything like that, we will be live. But until then, I've been AdamMcKola. I'm going to get out of here.